what's really interesting is that you can go through a process, and it takes commitment. It takes, changing patterns. So you need to do them daily or multiple times a day. But there is a possibility to actually change the function, change the posture, and retrain the brain and the tongue and the body to actually change that trajectory of how that child holds themselves. And, when you're not holding yourself in the right way, it can have many other implications. Um, you may not run properly. You may end up with
Mhm.
injuries as you go through life. You may end up with, back problems, knee problems, hip problems, because you're not holding yourself in the right way and able to hold your head up, because your tongue is effectively so heavy that, you end up, your frontal lobes come down and your tongue just starts to fall. So talk me through what you do in assessing and um, getting parents to understand, because they're going to be listening to this and want to understand what are those things that you'd be looking for, because parents know their children as they know them, rather than, are there some specific things that we should, other than mouth breathing, is there any other things that they could look for? And obviously posture's one, but then how do you help assess them and that process of healing that you go through?
So we look at, for parents out there, I think the best thing to learn is to identify the red flags. Okay, so I'll give you a few red flags, and then if those red flags are there, my advice would be to go and search for a myofunctional therapist who can do a full myofunctional assessment, because there are a lot of things behind those red flags that need to be also assessed. So one of them will be, are they waking up in the morning groggy despite long hours of sleep? So that will tell us that their sleep has quantity but not quality. They're not perhaps going through all the cycles of sleep. The other one is, are the mouth breathing during the day? And do you have an opportunity to check at night whether they have an open mouth posture, whether they're breathing through the mouth? Is there snoring? Snoring, despite a lot of videos out there that seem to portray baby snoring as cute, it's a bad thing. Snoring is not good for any age and is a big red flag. Are they grinding their teeth at night? So if they're grinding their teeth at night, is also a big red flag. It means that they are trying to open their airway probably at night too, and that they are actually trying to survive at night. So it's really difficult to sleep when the tongue is actually clogging or obstructing your airway. So the brain goes through a process of almost self-resus, where the jaw comes forward. You get a little bit of sleep as you get the air through. You fall asleep. Your muscles fall asleep with you, and so does the tongue. And then the whole thing collapses back. Then this nervous system goes into fight or flight mode. You
Yeah.
clench because you're stressed or your body's stressed. Then there's a little bit of lack of oxygen. The brain goes, wake up or partially wake up, bring the jaw forward, you bring the jaw forward. And that's the grinding that
Right.
you
That's the
hear.
motion.
So it's the motion of trying to keep the airway clear. So that's grinding is important. Forward head posture is a big telling one as well. So yes, devices do exacerbate things, and looking at your phone and hunching over things do make it worse. But to me, a forward head posture is another red flag too, and to many of the people who work in this field will also look at it as a red flag. Is there a wearing of the teeth? So look at your child's mouth. Teeth should not be totally flat and even. The canine should have a peak, and they shouldn't be all the same length or reducing height. So that's another tell sign. Hyperactivity during the day. Yes, there is sleep ADHD and ASD as conditions. They exist, but we need to be also mindful of whether the sleep deprivation is actually causing them to also be hyperactive during the day. Adults behave differently. When we are lacking sleep, we reach out for sugar, for caffeine, for other things that keep our energy up. Children tend to become either hyperactive or withdrawn completely because they are overtired. So that's another thing. And their capability of self regulation lowers massively if they're not having a restful sleep too. So that's another sign. Now, if you look at the structure, we look for a high palate. So is the palate vaulted or is it nice and flat and like an U shape? If it is a V shape, there is also an issue. There is already an issue there, and the tongue is not sitting there during growth and development.